Welcome, everybody, to Cinema Royale, the official podcast of the Punch Drunk Critics. And I am Travis Hobson of punchdrunkcritics.com. And we are talking, what else? Fast X. This is the 10th and penultimate. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see me doing air quotes right here because they're already talking about extending it by one. That voice you just heard is my buddy Chris Bumbrae from JoBlo.com, my sort of boss over there at JoBlo.com. I don't like to think I'm as a boss though.
Well, you're doing that epic Fast and Furious series for us, which is gonna be long once it's done. I mean, it's gonna be
super long.
It's like a 10-part series, and then in 2 years we'll have to come back and do the next one, and then a couple of years
really
after
should
that.
Just do like after that. We really should just all put them all together and do like one long oral history of.
We're going to at one point, yeah. At some point we will, and it'll be like the epic. Like it'll be like it'll be the Lethal Weapon one was 80 minutes, so you could imagine how long it'll be. It'll be like 3 hours probably.
Wow, it was Lethal Weapon one, like the combination of all the Lethal Weapon?
It was 80 minutes long. Yeah, it was like a documentary.
That's 80 minutes of me talking?
Yeah, 80 minutes.
Those poor people.
It's like a full documentary. And that was actually cutting out credits though in between, smoothed it out a bit. Wow. That's why I always, for these series, I always have return people. I always have the same narrators. I try to have the same writers, and I try to have the same editors because I want it to be seamless. Like I'm doing the Star Trek one now, Star Trek Revisited, and I'm doing Stallone Revisited and Cruise Revisited, but then I've got somebody else doing Star Wars. I've got, I'm starting. I've got somebody doing RoboCop now. So it's kind of like I've got, so I want it to be, so like the Fast and Furious thing. I want like it all to be your voice, so that it'll be it'll be cohesive.
Yeah, no, of course.
You put us over a barrel for the last couple episodes, bro.
What do you mean?
I don't know if I want to come back. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah, to get like an AI version of you.
Am I getting any residuals for these new like combined versions of the things here? Am I getting?
I mean, they're all. I don't think they really even. It's just like I would be curious as to how much revenue they actually earn, though. Like it's kind of it's one of those things, but it's just for
they're pretty cool though. They're pretty cool though. I think it's pretty awesome. I love when JoBlo does these revisited joints. So,
well, Too Fast and Too Furious did really well actually yesterday. Like it was actually pretty big. I think my theory for that though is that it's often the ones that aren't talked about that do really well. So I'm thinking Tokyo Drift will do really well as well.
I think Tokyo Drift. I think look, everybody knows Tokyo Drift is my favorite of the franchise.
I like it a lot too. Quietly, I've always thought it was underrated.
I think it's quietly the favorite of a lot of people because it's so off-brand compared to everything else.
I think that one is going to do very well.
Yeah. I added some stuff in there about Bow Wow.
That's cool. I'm sure Cody and
his whole car.
We're both very open to that.
I asked him first. I was like, "Can I add something in here about this?" Because you didn't mention it. And he's like, "Oh yeah, go ahead." So I recorded some stuff about that. You can't not talk about Bow Wow's Hulk car. You just can't. I'm sorry.
I worked on the Blu-ray for that movie actually.
Really?
Yeah. Really? Yeah. I worked for this company, Deluxe Digital, and I was working on the authoring of it, but basically I was doing quality control. So I had to watch it over and over and over again with like subtitles to make sure things synced up, the commentary tracks. So I became an expert on that movie. Surprisingly rewatchable. The one that was really tough was I had to do Fast and Furious, the fourth one. And I really don't like that movie. To this day, I really hate it because I thought it was dull after. And that's why I was shocked that Fast 5 was so good.
Yeah, Fast and Furious, which I still like, but it's just like it's also I think the most forgettable of the entire franchise, like of all of them. Like even but even though I don't think it's the worst, like I think Fate of the Furious is still the worst.
Really,
Fate of the Furious is terrible, but it's just
Fate of the Furious was Laura's gateway into that series.
It's
because she watched it, and she thought it was so awesome. She wanted to watch all of them.
It's awesome if you are a newcomer, but it's not awesome if you've like watched all of them. Like it's like this one just feels really bland, and you could feel the editing around Diesel and Johnson, and you could just like it's like all stuff like that. It's like okay, yeah, this movie's not great at all, but it's at least memorable for all the things that are wrong with it. Fast and Furious is just like, I don't even remember what happened in it. Like, I don't remember like who the villain was.
Well, Letty died.
Right. That's like the only thing. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And that was short-lived, of course. And so it's like Fast and Furious is like the most forgettable. It's so forgettable that people just use it as a shorthand of the entire franchise.
Yeah.
So, but Fast X though, Fast X, this is the latest movie in the franchise, and we're not gonna go into spoilers here because there are a lot, and frankly, there are so many characters that pop up in this. I was telling somebody that Fast and Furious franchise is one of those where there's so many people that are in it, you forget just how deep the roster of superstars.
Oh God.
Like somebody pops up and you're like, oh my God, can you remember? I forgot that person was in these movies. Jesus Christ, there's so many people. Like I reminded a friend of mine that Vanessa Kirby was in Hobbs and Shaw. Like
Yeah, and I wonder if
forgot.
she's gonna come back at some point. Like, yeah,
of course she will. Of course she
Yeah.
will. She'll probably be in the next one.
Well,
But
and
it's
then like the close up of Eva Mendes on the board, I was like, yeah, Eva Mendes. Yeah, she was
Yeah.
in 2, of course.
yeah,
And
it's
kind
like,
of in 5.
yeah. And
Yeah.
when I was watching it, my friend was like, I was trying to remember who Elsa Pataki's character was. I was like, it's Dom's wife, the mother of his child. You know, that kid that's running around this movie the whole time.
Like,
They're just like, come on, man.
I like how they're very fluid with the races in the movie too. Like he's kind of like they're Latino, I think, right? Like the Toronto. I always thought they were Italian. And they're kind of like they're like Latino now, which is cool. But it's just like I think you kind of and the kid looks like he's black, right? Like so, it's kind of
he doesn't look like the love child of Vin Diesel and Elsa Pataki.
You kind of go with it though. Like the kid was fun, the kid was a good actor, so you're kind of like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the kid was fine.
I have these movies.
I have a thing about kids in movies because kid actors suck universally. And but this one was not that bad. But basically, the plot of this movie,
they had to put in a line about Momoa's mother being Samoan. I'm like, nobody cares about like it doesn't have to match up exactly.
This movie goes out of its way to explain things that don't need to be explained and to draw connections between characters that honestly don't need to be connected. Like they like it's one of the things about one of the tropes of this franchise is that new characters that emerge always have some sort of connection to someone in some way, and if they don't, one will be built for them later.
I have a very dumb theory about Momoa's character. Momoa's character's mother. I think that him and Hobbs are brothers or half brothers.
Shut up, man. I mean,
they're both Samoan. Yes, they wouldn't have said he was Samoan if they weren't going to do that.
I mean, Jesus Christ. See, the thing is,
do you honestly think that couldn't happen though in these movies?
I think anything can happen in these movies. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me that the Shaws were all secret Torettos. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. Possible. I don't. The way things work in these movies now is so ludicrous that anything can happen. And you know what? As a fan, I'd probably be willing to accept it. And I know the majority of people in the audience will be willing to accept it because they accept anything. I mean, they went in space last
man, they're going to end up being brothers or half brothers, and then it's going to be like, and then another villain will come along. Maybe they'll finally get Denzel Washington because he's always wanted Denzel Washington.
He's gonna play Luke Hobbs' father. Like
maybe the check will finally be big enough to get him to come in.
He's gonna play the new Mr. Nobody or something.
Yeah. Well, he's still around too, though. Like, I mean, that's the thing, Like,
I mean, but is he though? I mean,
he's in the wind. They say
that's the crazy thing about these movies is that everybody has their own little universe. So in my review, I was talking about how the Mr. Nobody character, Kurt Russell's character. He's like this total supporting bit player, and he's got his own little universe now. Like there's
there's little
Nobody played by Scott Eastwood, and there's Brie Larson's Tess, who's his daughter, and it's like,
well, I mean, would you be surprised if they did a movie where like Brie Larson was the star and like Kurt Russell was her father? Like they could easily do that.
Yes, of course they could. And Scott, it seems like that's what they're setting up for because there's no way in the world this franchise ends with the 11th or 12th movie. It's just
I don't think she would have done the role if that wasn't like a part of an idea. The thing about these movies, though, I always find it funny that they're trying to set it up being like the last, like, so my problem with the movie is that it's the same problem I have with every movie that's like the first part of like a two-parter, where like the first part is never wholly satisfying on its own unless you're Infinity War, and it's kind of, You know, like I don't know why they feel like they need to like bring this series to like a conclusion. You know, like just do one good movie and then like take 5 years off and come back later. I mean, like Diesel is what, he's like 55. Like he could make these movies until he's in his 70s. He's just in a car. You know, I mean, like it could go on and on and on.
Yeah, no,
And it will inevitably.
I don't disagree about this feeling like the first part of a storyline, but at least we go in knowing it though, and I think that's part of the thing that makes it okay. People go in expecting the cliffhanger. But the story is pretty simple for the most part. Like once you get like if you break it down, ignore all the convoluted stuff and the loads of expository dialogue.
A Fast and Furious movie that's convoluted? No,
I know, it's crazy. Basically, this movie picks up after events of Fast Five, and this is why I say in my review that if you don't remember, if you're not good at the Fast and Furious trivia game, it can get a little wonky. So it's like this movie picks up after the events of Fast Five, where to me is the moment when the franchise jumped the shark, which is the vault stealing scene where you're like, whoa, what?
In a good way, though. Jump the shark to awesomeness.
Right. Exactly. But I mean, jump the shark into like becoming what it is now, rather than what it used to be before that. And that was the film that saw the defeat of the crime kingpin Reyes. And Jason Momoa plays his vengeful son Dante. And look, you're probably going to hear about it from loads of other people. Jason Momoa is the best thing about this movie.
By a long shot.
Incredible here. I called him the RuPaul's Drag Race version of.
Yeah, he's having such a good time. Like the part when he
got no notes.
Guy's throat and licks the blade like he's Dracula. You know, like
zero notes. No notes for this role. Like somebody just say, just go do what you want. And
he looks like he's enjoying playing the bad guy and playing like the most different role than, you know, he's really stretching and he's kind of awesome in it. Like he really is. He really is having a good time. He's the best villain I think they've ever had.
He's by far the most memorable villain you've ever had already, and there's more stories to come with him. It seems like, but it's he's incredible in this. His Dante is always a couple of steps ahead of Dom, which is nothing new. The villains are always ahead of Dom and the crew for a while. That goes for a while. It's the same for like Charlize Theron's Cypher, who also appears in this movie.
Eventually, it's going to end though with him and Cypher in the fucking backyard having some Coronas with them.
Let's see. All right. Let's see. I hear you saying that, and that has been the case for every movie so far. You can just look at
every single one of them.
You can look at Jacob Toretto, Dom's brother, who was the villain in the last movie, and now is tagging along with the son in like a spy type adventure.
Not even a hint of darkness from him being like, he's basically playing John Cena now. He's making dad jokes. Yeah. You know, and
there's not a trace of the previous Jacob in this movie.
He's making dad jokes. He's like winking at the kid, you know, and it's like he's the doting uncle, which is great because I think that's everybody wanted him in that role. Like, when he showed up, people were cheering in the audience, you know.
Same at ours. But I think this movie does a good job of giving us a twist on the idea that every villain becomes a part of the family, which is part of Dom's thing. Everybody that hates him at first becomes part of his family. That goes for Hobbs, also Statham's character who killed Han for a while supposedly, you know. But all these people become part of the family. And this movie, I think, does a pretty good job of messing with your expectations for that to be the case here too. I'm not so sure that we get that with Dante. I don't think he becomes part of the family. I think if you're going to end this franchise on something, you end it with somebody who's actually out for revenge for the long haul and not just
because it feels like Cypher's on her way to that table. Even though
it's definitely for her, maybe.
Even though she killed the mother of Dom's child, like point blank. But is she dead either, though? Who knows? Like, I don't know what this stuff, like, it's people that you think are dead are actually dead, you know? Like, even Luke shows up with like a scar, you know, in Fate of the Furious, and he's a good guy now, despite the fact that he was evil, you know?
Maybe she got rebuilt like Idris Elba's character. You know,
maybe. I mean, who knows though? Like, it could easily happen. Like, it's crazy. There's no death in these movies. You know, like it's always, you know, the only people that get killed are like the cops that come after them. You know, like, or civilians.
One of the jokes I was making about this movie is that, and one of the things I actually like about it, but it's also kind of funny, The movies previous to this have all been sort of end of the world type things. It's kind of crazy when you think about where this franchise started. This one is
Or them stealing DVD players. Yeah.
Yeah. This is surprisingly personal and not about an end of the world scenario necessarily. And yet, I think the world took more damage in this movie than any other movie.
I mean, they almost destroyed the Vatican, like, and it's kind of Portugal seems like it's on the way down, like there's not much of it left afterwards, and who knows what's going to happen in the next one, like it's.
I mean, the Pope almost got blown up. I mean,
my problem though with the movie though is I've always thought that this series is at its best when it's an ensemble. And I've never felt, and as much as I have an affection for Vin Diesel, I've never found that he could carry a movie on his own. And I think that the problem with this movie is
clearly you've never seen A Man Apart.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. His best movie, honestly, is Find Me Guilty, which I think he's great.
It's actually not bad. I kind of like
legitimately great.
I kind of like Knock Around Guys, if I'm honest.
Yeah. He's again though, he's part of an ensemble in that, and that's his best feature. And I think that, the thing about him in this movie is that Dom is front and center for too much of it. And I don't like that. And they always do that with him. They did that in Fate of the Furious as well, where he's separated from the crew and he's on his own journey.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's like a Diesel, an affectation of his ego or whatever, or issues that he has with the rest of the cast.
He does seem sort of separate from like Tej and Roman and those guys who are all doing like more, because their stuff always leans more comedy. And Dom is always so serious now.
Even at CinemaCon, they brought out the cast left, then they brought out Vin Diesel. Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's always kind of like that, and he's apart from everybody, and I think that the supporting cast is totally wasted in the movie. Like Tyrese, Ludacris, Roman and Tej, they get nothing to do. Ramsey gets nothing to do. They're all just kind of looking for Dom, like, hey, where's Dom? Even like Han doesn't get much to do. Deckard, it's pretty much a cameo, but they're setting him up for the next one, obviously. Jordana Brewster has like a nothing role.
Okay, can we talk about the Jordana Brewster character Mia in these movies?
Well, I want to talk about Brian too.
Because that's kind of where
that's the big problem with these movies.
This is a long-standing problem with the movies now, and it becomes really glaring in this one. There's a part of it where Dante's on the attack, and basically we go to visit Mia, who is there alone with Dom's son, and you're like, okay, well, Dante is attacking all the people that Dom cares about most. Where's Brian? Like off getting groceries or something? Like, yeah, they should have just killed him off. Can we be honest?
Like he's a total wimp now or something. Like he's not, like, anytime anybody's in danger, he just runs away with like the kids. Right. Like it doesn't make any sense. They're threatening his namesake, the nephew that's named after him. Yep. He's not going to go and try and save the kid. Like he should have been having almost like Jacob's role. He's dead. They should have killed him off when he died for real. Like, I mean, everybody would have been sad, but I think narratively it's the best thing they could have done. And I don't want to see him come back as CGI. Like it
feels so awkward, like having all this stuff happening and Brian just not being part of it.
They're always like, "Hey, how's Brian doing? He's fine." Like it's this guy.
And this time it was just so bad because it was an attack on his home, number one, and it's like, and his attack on his wife, and Brian is nowhere to be found. And it's like, dude, come on, man. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, just give me something.
Too. He's like the hero, like the noble hero that the series was built around. Now he's just going to kind of take a backseat. He's just not going to do anything. Like,
and I don't even remember why he's hidden anymore. Like, compared to everything that all of them have done, there's nothing he did that's worse than anything that anybody else is.
They're always saying he's off the grid because he's watching the kids, like it's just like that. Like, but I mean, come on, like, their kids would be in jeopardy as well. Like, it just doesn't make any. It just has never really made any sense.
It makes even less sense when every single villain in the movie since he died has had the ability to find anyone.
They're gonna bring him back with like CGI, but it'll be terrible. It'll look awful.
I don't want to. I'd rather they just bring him back as a Force ghost, like Anakin Skywalker or something.
I mean, they should just say he's been dead for years, and we're all in denial.
I know. I wish they would say something
to ourselves that he's dead.
Yeah, something's got. they got to do something, man. But they can't keep going like this. I guess with the franchise winding down, they can. They might have gone this.
Or they could say he's been dead for a while, and Mia's been hiding it from Dom because she knows he'd be upset.
That'd be awful too. But Jesus Christ, they've written themselves into
like he fucking left us.
To a terrible corner.
It's a real shitty thing.
I know, right? Like, yeah, he got bored of marriage and ran off with Ava Mendes's character because they because they kind of had a thing in Too Fast, Too Furious. He ran off with her, so that's what happened. And the only one who knew about it was Roman. Mm-hmm. Like Roman Pierce knew about it, maybe.
He's known about the whole time.
He's known the whole time and didn't want to say anything.
I mean, they're
now that's some real drama. That's some real drama for your ass that they could put out there. And I'd be like, okay.
In Too Fast and Too Furious, he calls him K. Hey, K.
Oh man! So this movie is I love the action in this movie though, and I think Louis Leterrier is really good. Is really good at directing these movies.
I think he was a good choice to fill in because you needed a guy that could really make a movie move, and I think he does have a good sense of pace and propulsiveness.
Yeah. He's the first real action director that they've had. Justin Lin has been great. I love Justin Lin, but Louis Leterrier, that's all he does.
The action is better in this one. Like when Statham has his fight scene, it's great. And I love the fight between Letty and Cypher. That's a really cool fight.
It is a really good fight. Really good fight. Some snug fighting going on in there between those
slamming two. Into shit. Like it's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there. Leterrier he's one of my favorite directors for someone who's not made a movie that I absolutely love. Like, I don't like Clash of the Titans that much. It's okay, but I like the action in it. I think the Incredible Hulk movie is not great from Marvel, but I like the action in it. And I love the set pieces in Now You See Me. So, I mean, and Transporter 2 was fun. So, so it's like, he's good at this sort of thing. I'm glad to see that he's coming back for the next one too. So that's good.
I think he's probably the perfect director for a Fast and Furious film. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like if the next one's good, he'll probably come back and do the 12th one. Yeah. So and then
it all depends on the box office, really,
and then beyond.
I'm still telling you, man, they got to do like a crossover, like they got to do like the Fast and Furious in hell. Like Jesus has been kidnapped. We got one last mission. Got to save him from hell.
So we don't want to go into any of the major spoilers and major cameos that appear in this movie.
There's a lot.
But I do want to get your kind of general impression of a couple of them that happened anyway.
So spoiler warning then for anybody watching this.
Yeah, kind of a vague spoiler warning. We're not going to go into detail on them, but I do want to get your opinion on there are two appearances that happen at the end of the movie. One is not really a spoiler because they put it out there and released it itself as the return of Hobbs, played by Dwayne Johnson. That's not a spoiler. But there's another one that was not spoiled. That was the one that had me jump out of my chair because I'm a fan of this person. So I'm glad that this happened. But I want to kind of get your opinion on those two returns in this.
I mean, the Hobbs one, yeah, it wasn't a surprise to me because the news has been out. And like you said earlier, you think the studio may have put it out themselves. I wouldn't be surprised because they want to goose the box office.
Yep.
I think it's funny to see what damage Black Adam did to Dwayne Johnson's career, because I feel like that he would have never come back if that had been a hit. But I think the franchise needs him though, and I think it's always better with him. So, and his absence is always felt for me when I watch these movies. So, and it would make sense if Dante wants revenge on them. The guy that killed his father point blank was Hobbs, so it makes sense that he would come back. Exactly. It's almost like Fast X Part 2, Hobbs and Shaw Part 2. Like it would be just a mixture of those
Part
movies.
Duh.
Yeah, because I mean, because they're moving in. Shaw's on his own too, I feel like they're gonna hook up, and bring back his sister as well, and with Helen Mirren. So there's got to be 100%
in favor of more Vanessa Kirby and everything.
Yeah, I mean they're doing that but I just I feel like the next one is gonna be probably one of the most expensive movies ever made, though. This one already is too. Like just in terms of star cameos and salaries, it's gonna be insane because there's 5 of the top stars in Hollywood are going to be in these movies.
Yep. That's why it's
And
so
if The Rock
ridiculous.
is in it, I feel like Kevin Hart inevitably is going to show up at some point. And if he shows up, then Ryan Reynolds no doubt will make a cameo as well. He always does. So those guys are always down for whatever.
But I also feel like that's sort of the case why it probably won't be like, I mean, it's already going to be expensive, of course it will, but not as astronomical as it probably could be, because a lot of these people probably show up because, I want to be in a Fast and Furious movie. I'm having some fun hanging out with my
Diesel
buddies.
did say something though at CinemaCon that's true, is that each film is the highest grossing film that the director has ever made. So, it is good for careers to be in those movies. It'll be interesting to see how this one does at the box office though, because it's been on a downward spiral since kind of the peak of Furious 7. So it'll be interesting to see if the audience still goes for those movies. But the press screening wasn't a press screening. The promo screening I was at was full, and the audience loved it. So
Same at mine.
You can never count these out, because I remember when 6 came out, everybody thought it was going to flop because it was opening the same day as Hangover 3. And even Todd Phillips was like, oh, shitty movies are going to fail. Everybody's going to go see Hangover. Nobody went to see Hangover. Everybody went to see Fast and Furious 6. So it's dangerous to count those movies out.
Yeah, and how much did F9 make? I mean, it still made a ton, if I remember.
And during COVID times as well.
Right.
I think the thing about these movies is that they are very representative, in a way that's not like tacked on. Everybody can kind of see themselves in the character. Me, of course, I see myself mostly in the Tyrese character. But it's just kind of
That's funny. I see myself as Han.
Yeah, Han, cool. I mean,
who
that
doesn't
is
want
the
to be
thing. That is
want
the
to be
beauty of
Han?
these movies,
Undoubtedly, the coolest person in the room every single time is
100%. So laconic, just kind of like, yeah, all right.
Sun Kang might not ever do anything else as nearly as cool as Han. In fact, he probably won't. He won't. In fact,
he's very chill. He's just the chillest guy.
He's the chillest
Even
guy.
like meeting the guy that tried to kill him, they're still like, they're kind of bros now.
I know.
Gonna go fill some body bags.
Yeah.
And everybody in the audience, ooh.
And what about the other return, the one that was not talked about? Just your gut feeling about that.
I thought it was cool. Laura was thrilled. I think it's stupid but fun. So why not?
That should be on. That should go ahead and be on the poster. Christopher
Why
Plummer,
not?
stupid but fun.
Why not?
End quote. Look, I had a ton of fun with this. I can acknowledge its issues. I think the script might arguably be the worst that we had in a long time. Some of the dialogue is absolutely atrocious. And I was joking that you don't really notice how bad the script is anymore in these movies.
Until when Alan
it's
Richardson starts talking, you start to realize, like, that guy. I've never seen Reacher, but
Jack
that was a rough.
Reacher is an amazing show, and he's great.
Okay, because that was a rough performance.
It's a badly written role. He plays sort of like the new head of the agency, replacing Mr. Nobody. And
it's got to be something more to him than that. Like, it was just kind of
badly written role. But you don't really notice how bad the dialogue is anymore until somebody like Rita Moreno or Helen Mirren is saying it, and you're like,
oh yeah,
and you're like, what? You're like, that was really.
And I also crack up at like Diesel's faces too, where he's like that, like it's just kind of, oh my god, so over the top.
But you forgive these movies and their flaws, and
of course.
I used to say, and all critics used to say, if you like the franchise, you'll like this one.
And if you don't, this isn't the place to start. That's for sure.
Oh no, for sure. If you don't know, God, a friend of mine was like, "Should I go with you guys to see Fast X this weekend?" I was like, "You haven't seen anything. You haven't seen the last couple of movies, so the answer is no. I mean, you won't know what the hell is going on.
And it's not the one that's going to win you over either.
No, it's definitely not. But but I don't think it's the case anymore where you can say, like, if you like one, you like them all, because I think, like I said, Fate of the Furious is bad enough that I know a lot of people who just plain don't like it.
I think Fast 9 is the worst.
See, I mean, everybody has one that they don't like anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, it didn't used to always be that way. So I don't think you could say that. But I do think if you're a fan of this franchise, you're probably going to like this one a lot. Because
I would say for me, the best ones are probably Tokyo Drift 5 and 7.
Fast 5 is, I don't know anybody who doesn't like Fast 5. Fast 5 is incredible.
And I really like Furious 7. I think that one was probably the most, that's James Wan's magic too.
Oh yeah.
What they went through and how they had to finish it with CGI. They did a great job.
Yeah, they did. They really did. But I mean, this movie has all the franchises best aspects and its worst. And at this point, you've come to accept both.
Yeah.
You've come.
You don't even mind anymore. You're just kind of like, okay, fine.
Yeah. They go off into space. Okay. Yeah. Somebody survives a fireball or something like that. Okay. Yeah. You're okay. Yeah. All right. Weird cameos. Daniela Melchior. That's not really a cameo. The character who played Ratcatcher in Suicide Squad. She's in this, and it's like there's so many people in it, and you just kind of like, okay, yeah, that's great.
With like tenuous connections to other characters.
Yeah, they're always, like I said, they're always building. We actually counted the number of times they said family in the movie. It was 17.
Whoa.
So, yeah. We were counting because one of my friends is writing an article about it. So it gets said 17 times. In the first hour, it said like 8. And I was like, Jesus Christ, they just won't stop saying it. Like Rita Moreno said it, I think 3 times in like the minute and a half she had on screen. It's like
so Diesel was at CinemaCon and he was giving a speech and somebody said, and he goes, and somebody said to me, what redeeming values do these movies have? And he says, is there a greater value than family? And he was just waiting for like the audience to applaud. Nobody did. He gave the weirdest speech ever. He kept waiting these dramatic pauses for the audience to applaud, and he never did.
I think he truly believes these movies are deep.
Yeah.
I think he truly
he thinks he should be winning Oscars for them. Yeah. Sure. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. I think he truly believes that.
To give him his due though, this is the perfect showcase for him, and the movies have been extremely popular. People really like them, so
Look, I'm not shitting on him for feeling that way. These movies mean a lot to a lot of people, including me. Like I love these movies. I love these movies. For the criticism that I have,
Laura loves them. Laura loves them. We were watching Vice, that Vice movie with that. You remember how at the end by Adam McKay, and at the end they made some kind of backhanded comment towards like Fast and Furious, and it's like, I want to go see a Fast and Furious movie, and Laura was like, fuck this movie.
Yeah,
she just left the room, and she goes, sorry, what? Oh, sorry, you're too smart to enjoy Fast and Furious. Like, fuck this movie.
Yeah, I mean,
ever since then, she's thought the director was an asshole, Adam McKay.
I mean, he kind of is.
Yeah, she thought he was a pseudo-intellectual asshole. Is what she always called him.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely. I mean, look, he shares my politics, and I still think he's kind of a dick. So, but look, these movies mean a lot to a lot of people, and there's something, there's something about creating something that means that much to so many people.
I mean, you can't take any glory away from them for these movies. Like it is very impressive, and I still really appreciate the fact that 1, 2, 3, at least of the leading men are bald.
I mean, you would find something.
Well, move your head for a second. Who else behind you? Who's behind you there? No, Ludacris's hair, but Tyrese.
Statham, Diesel. Yeah, I'm sure there's somebody else bald running around there somewhere.
Statham, Diesel, Tyrese.
Han will come back bald for the next movie. So actually, no, you know what? Jacob will be bald next movie. All his hair will been singed,
burned off, singed.
Yeah. That's what happened. So, oh man, this has been fun. Fast X is in theaters this weekend, May 19th. My review is up at punchdrunkcritics.com. Chris Bumbray's review, I believe, is up at joeblow.com now as well. Go and check that out. This has been great. Thanks everybody. Thanks, Chris, for joining me this week. It's fantastic as always having you on here.
Got it, Chris.
Thanks everybody for tuning in to Cinema Royale. I'm Travis Hobson. You can find me every day at punchdrunkcritics.com. You can subscribe to Cinema Royale on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts as well. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. See you next time. Bye. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.